All right, folks, here with the Conveyor podcast. We've got our guest here, Rafe Furst, who is based out of Boulder, Colorado. There's lots to talk about when it comes to internet and online presences, executive communications, having been in California to get his start of his career, and then moving into things like blockchain and Web3. And writing a lot of interesting books and articles, things around family offices, venture capital, and more. So, Rafe, in your own words, introduce yourself. Thank you.
Hey, Quinn, how are you? Thanks for having me on. This is great. So yeah, I guess the quickie overview is I got my start in business in Silicon Valley in the early to mid 90s. I was my first job out of graduate school was AI research and development. It wasn't at all like what it is today. Wasn't that effective. We used to say, yeah, it's called AI until it works, and then we call it engineering. But now we have a very different landscape. I'm really excited to see that come back. But I was also very interested in just technology and entrepreneurship in general. And so when I saw the first web browser, got an early peak, I was transfixed, and I called together a group of like-minded folks, friends of mine, and we started brainstorming ideas. Eventually landed on a social gaming concept. We were one of the first groups to bring those office pools that, we do, sports prediction pools, March Madness, football, soccer, you name it, all the sports, trivia quizzes, these light gaming. They call it daily fantasy sports now. We weren't doing gambling per se because it was all free to play and social, but we had a great time because we were all passionate about that. So long story short is we hit the timing right. We ended up selling our company to a larger company. I was the CTO of that larger company. It was a public company. Web bubble burst. So we were out of business by the end of year 2000. But, me and my partners had gotten some liquidity from the rollup, and I went traveling, followed the professional poker circuit for about 10 years, did a lot of angel investing. And then along the way, co-founded 4 different companies in and around technology and media, including equity crowdfunding, including crypto, blockchain, Web3, and instructional media.
Has there been any overriding, let's say, skill set or thing that you particularly focus on that has been consistent over quite a diverse array of industries and even just generations of the internet and entrepreneurship, I would say?
So ask your question again, because I'm not quite sure what you're
yeah. Like, is there so for example, I've always been a kind of like a business development and executive communications person. I've always kind of worked with people on their early go-to-market. And right now I have an executive communications agency that really focuses on stakeholder engagement. That's what I want to talk to you about today. And so I see a very consistent overarching theme across my early start organizing startup drinks, organizing startup panels. When folks in my, small city in Canada, there wasn't even a lot of like understanding of what entrepreneurship was, all the way to working for a cryptocurrency founder and trying to organize the ecosystem by running events for him, trying to integrate cryptocurrency wallets, just figuring out what Telegram and Discord channels were. And so ecosystem, stakeholders, communications have been this sort of overarching thing. So what about for yourself?
Yeah, I think the main organizing theme it would be that I like to accelerate possibilities by connecting ideas and people and resources, making good things happen faster. And so, yeah, I love technology and I love possibilities and I love creating solutions. For me, it's about making our lives better, each of us, and starting with myself and my friends and family, and rippling out, to a larger audience from there.
That's great. That's how I think about business. You can see my logo, community and company, in here, and so the idea is your inner circle. There's folks that are stakeholders that are your current customers, your employees, possibly investors, that are growing, but sort of the inner part of your team. And then there's this sort of growing part, and the circle's not quite closed, but you just have to keep engaging with people and have this sort of growth mindset and renewal mindset. And so, have
I like
you?
that a lot. I like that a lot. Yeah.
And I think that also I think in the age of AI and the age of attention deficit, even today, there was an article that I read from A16Z partner Andrew Chen, and the name of the article, the newsletter, said, "All of your go-to-market channels suck right now." That was literally and so there's this quote around nuclear weapons, and it says, "We don't know what the next war will be fought with, but we know the war after that will be sticks and stones." And so my theory is that AI is the equivalent of a nuclear Armageddon when it comes to business and go-to-market motions. And so the most offensive and defensive thing that most businesses should be doing, other than building great products, is shoring up their stakeholders and staying top of mind, and having a trusted communication channel where you can bug them, you can tell them what you're doing, and mapping that out. Do you have any sort of experience with that happening right now with AI, or any thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe something similar to you, and maybe it's the exact same thing in different words. It, it is effectively, I don't like the violent analogy of like nuclear Armageddon, but I sometimes refer to it as like apocalypse, in the sense of the end of the world as we know it, and the beginning of the new world, whatever that is. And so, I'm right there with everybody else. Like, we can't really see past the event horizon, but it's clear that the event horizon's here. Like, we're in it right now, and everything we know about certainly business, but it's no part of civilized life, or life in advanced civilization, is going to be untouched by what's happening with AI at an exponential rate. And so for me, and I agree with you, it's like, okay, given that, it's like we get an opportunity to really pause, step back, and reevaluate what is it that's really truly important to us as individuals, as small groups, as collectives, as communities. What is really, nourishing and supporting us? And we get to then maybe reimagine. That's what I'm doing, reimagining. How do we bring this very, very powerful magic technology? How do we bring that back into our lives to better our lives, better our experience of every day? And how do we also leverage that technology to help us show up in community, in our relationships, better, as we would want to be? Almost as if we get to kind of skip to the end and say, all right, my highest, most evolved self, with all the collective wisdom known gets to guide me. That's how I envision AI technology in its best, highest use. And not to discount that there are plenty of, I would say, not healthy forces at play, racing at breakneck speed to create God knows what. That's happening simultaneously. But I love where we're at. I love where I'm at with it, and the people that I'm talking to and I'm collaborating with are on this other track towards that.
Yeah, there's so much to chew on what you just said. I think one of the first things you said is that it truly is magical. This is a magical time. Getting into cryptocurrencies about 7 or 8 years ago, there was some slight there was some skepticism that I had, even though I now feel like I'm one of the only people who did not jump in full feet, like with both feet. I did go back to a slower, more normie world, and it's been remarkable how different it has been in this sort of uptick with AI. It's a truly transformational. And for the record, I do not like war analogies. I think that the saying it's like a nuclear Armageddon, I just think that's it's sort of a graphic visualization, but definitely do not want to trivialize violence. That's for sure.
Yeah, no,
at this time.
But we're looking for words that talk about how absolutely transformative the technology is. And so I agree with you that we need to, I think it's hard for us to imagine. I mean, it's just natural, right? We can only sometimes project into the future what, like a matching of the patterns from the past. And so when you have a singularity, a jump, right? Something that's wholly different potentially, in terms of what it can bring, it's important to have enough humility and reverence to recognize this is not revolution as usual.
Yeah, when I think of I think the key point is there's lots that's happening in the news today. There's lots of sort of economic challenges that are happening at the moment. Oh, are you there?
Yeah.
Yep. And it reminds me of the quote where it's like, there's things happening where when you look back 10 years from now, you'll be like, this was actually the big thing that was happening. And it's surreal to feel that AI, there's a self-awareness in the present around, especially I'm not a developer myself, but I've always been in service to developers or builders, not just necessarily technology people. And the things that I'm seeing them do, and also the things that are coming out, is a complete rewriting of where things that are available to the average person, things that exponentially change opportunities, and it's this reshuffling, and there's this shaking out that is happening. And it reminds me of like the Gutenberg printing press. Back then, before that, the priest class, they were the ones who knew Latin, and so they were the ones who had this grip on folks' spiritual lives, and with that came earthly wealth to a certain degree. And it was blasphemous to use this printing press, this technology that made it available for people to write the King James Bible or different in the native tongue, in the lingua franca of all these European folks. And then the knock-on effect that we're not really familiar with is the centralization of this very important facet of life was now democratized to a certain degree. And
Right.
s- and so and so creative classes, there's a good thing where it's like, it for the first time in history, it is easier to it's a shorter amount of time to create amazing things than it is to consume them. Like if I was to send an email or write a very diligent report or use deep research, it
Mm.
will take so much longer for someone to consume it. And so going back to the conveyor idea, this you have to shore up your relationships in order to get attention from even people who you're trying to accomplish similar things with. Um,
Wow. Yeah.
it's really really profound. Are there any things that you do tactically to maybe give me an overview of sort of your team or the folks in your network that you're currently working with at a high level, and then how you engage and sort of manage and share with them?
Hmm. Yeah. I think the most honest answer is actually a pretty deep answer. It like goes way beyond tactics. It's more of a spiritual stance that I'm taking on in a deeper way all the time, which is uh, asking myself the question every day: what is it that who is it that I want to be? How do I want to show up in the world? What is it that I want to be feeling in my day-to-day experience, my moment-to-moment experience? What's going on actually internally right now? Do a lot more checking in with my feelings and my kind of emotional state and just state of being, my energy levels, and then my relationships. I do much more of that, like on a daily moment-to-moment basis, and it's becoming the primary thing that I am doing in work. Um, it's about honoring relationship with myself first and foremost, and then relationship with those closest to me and those that I choose to be collaborating with, playing with, um, and being as present as possible. Um, being aware of, becoming aware of what are my patterns, my habits, my unconsciousnesses, and how do I want to actually show up? Do I want to show up in thrall of those, or do I want to, as you said, have a growth mindset and continually be growing and learning, not without direction, but with an informed and ever more informed understanding of who it is that I really am, who it is that I really want to be.
There's some so we're going down the philosophy route. Sometimes I wake up and I really enjoy the work because I find that I'm motivated to support builders, people who want to cast a vision, make some change, folks who are maybe curious and just want to build and try something out.
Mm.
So that's why I've kind of built this interesting little communications agency that I have. And I'm less motivated by, let's say, monetary or sort of what the ROI of every day is.
Yep.
And on other days, on the wrong side of the bed days,
Mm-hmm.
I really question the sort of the point of, there's this Father John Misty song. He's like, how much oil did it take to stamp this album? He's like, you can be creating art. And so the idea is like, he's like, you're in a system. And so this other really good I forget. I think it's like this German Korean philosopher. His name is Byung-Chul Han. I think he says the very act of, say, capitalism invading our being omnipresent in our lives means that we are constantly trying to optimize for value creation, and it's ruining us internally. So a very popular thing here in Toronto is cold plunges. There's this very trendy cold plunge place, and I have a lot of criticisms of it, because not just for the influencer posterity sort of look at me, leisure and wellness, but the having your own personal wellness as the final frontier of value creation is like kills me some days. Really, absolutely kills me.
I understand.
And I don't know how to. I don't know. I haven't quite come to terms with how, like, reconciled that with my day to day and my long term goals.
Yeah.
Does that resonate at all with you?
Well, I partially, like, I know what you're pointing to. There's that financialization of and social mediaization of everything. That I don't think that I think that's a healthy thing that people are focused on knowing themselves, improving themselves, putting their oxygen mask on before going out into the world and helping others. I think that's a fundamentally healthy impulse, and I'm in favor of whatever the modality. I like to meditate in the morning. I like to microdose during the day. I have my various groups of people that I do personal development and interpersonal development work with. Other people worship in places, more traditional places of worship. I think all of that is really a good direction and a good impulse. And I understand how commercializing everything and making it an exercise in propping one's own reputation or ego up is a way to ruin just about anything. So
yeah, I think the challenge is sort of it feels sinful to not be creating value every second almost, and sort of the guilt, the weight of that, in your personal life. And so the bottom line, I forget, I think I'm blending two different philosopher guys I've listened to, but the solution that they say is to make shitty art. That's what they say. It's like you should be practicing hobbies that are bad, basically. That is like your antidote.
It's about fulfilling your soul, regardless of whether there's financial or reputational gain. I agree with.
I believe I read that you're interested in DAOs on your site somewhere, I think, right? Is that
yeah, I mean, I'm like fascinated by DAOs and I wrote this you might have read it if you read part of my book. But I'm fascinated by Web3 technology, blockchain, crypto, Web3. And to me, DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations, is what it stands for. They represent a new technology for organizing human collaboration. Whether you're a community that shares a certain commercial purpose, or whether you're a community that shares a non-commercial purpose, I think it's a really, really fascinating technology that will unlock new ways of, or more effective ways of working together. Let's put it that way. Not necessarily new ways, but being more effective.
I think blockchain-based technologies, decentralized ledgers, open source, is one hand that will wash the other hand of artificial intelligence, and it paints a promising, optimistic future, where, just as you said, sort of like individuals' lives are enhanced further from technology. I have, as a non-coder, only have I have a limited view on sort of the idea of open source being attached to DAOs and the way that open source and the governance of them work. But I do think that embedded in the DNA of organizations and their governance structure, it does it kind of presages how the organization works ultimately, like the value that it provides and its incentive structures and things like that. So it's kind of like the medium is the message, basically. So
100%. You use a Gutenberg analogy, the printing press analogy. And so the analogy here with decentralized technology, I believe, decentralized governance technology, I should say, DAOs and such, it's the previous revolution was the joint stock and limited liability company. I think, the Dutch East Indies Company was maybe one of the first, if not the first. But this idea that you could come together in a non-state way. You weren't part of the state. You weren't part of the religious apparatus, the religious organization. It was a secular technology that allowed people to collaborate commercially, and with a legal framework that held that all in place and made it work. When there were disagreements and conflicts of interest, it was a way to align interests and keep the rails on for whatever that commercial enterprise is. I think that that structure is just one of many, many forms that are now possible to unlock with decentralized technology that do not require even a legal system, because they're programmatically assured. So code as law is the mantra. And so I think we're just at the tip of the iceberg in terms of what can be unlocked with the decentralized technology for collaboration and governance.
there are some I just used a competitor for DocSend. That's an open source tool. And I almost want to go full bore into just supporting,
What's it
remove
called?
my stack. I actually forget what it was called, but
Okay. Put it in the show notes for us, okay?
I will.
Yeah.
I will. But yeah, the idea for non-technical people of having almost like a separation of powers of how an organization works, and how there's a path for you to come in and be a contributor, change how it works.
Yeah.
It is messy. It is a little bit of a, what is it? The bazaar or something like that. Like a messy marketplace.
Yeah.
And then in like anything with crypto, there are sort of vectors of bad actors to do stuff with them too.
That was the internet in its earliest days, right? It's the natural new technology adoption curve.
But the idea of, Uber, should Uber, because of its invention of, hailing a cab, like, should it have that monopoly on the profits forever now?
No, the idea of the platform collective, the idea that Uber, Twitter, Airbnb, ultimately these are going to be decentralized platforms where it's not the central corporate profit, uh, I mean, a monopoly. It's and control. It's all the people on the nodes and the edges. We get to share in the value.
Yeah, they're like different sort of unionized or not, even though it's a,
Well, it's
a hot term, but
another dimension, right? You don't need unions because it's effectively solving the problem of unions. We all get a voice in governance and self-governance, and we all get a share of the value that's created from our collective action.
and what do you think of the combination of, let's say, governance and monetary value with DAOs? So the fact that it's not just a decentralized governance, but sometimes they're integrated with each other. Like you can, they have their own native currencies,
Mhm.
things like that, not just sort of seats at the table.
Mhm. Well, I think it's essential, right? If we're going to be sharing value, I mean, I'm not positive that every DAO needs to have its own currency, but the tokenomics, so to speak, or the economic model and the control model, the governance model, they have to be integrated, or you get perverse incentives, and that's to a large degree what society, I believe, is suffering from right now.
Um, Switching topics here and rounding the bend here, I think we're almost done on the interview here. It's been great chatting with you. Um, what do I got here? How do you, so you say that you have been doing some angel investing and you're checking in with your existing network as sort of like an operating model day to day or week to week. Um, how do you build, I guess this is related, you added in the show notes that personal branding is something that is challenging for you or has been possibly challenging. So um, let's tease that out a little bit. So how do you get people to trust you generally when you're out there doing things professionally? How do you meet new people? How do you build trust
Mhm.
usually?
Yeah. So for me, I don't think about it. I don't think about it in those terms. Um, uh, I experience that trust is something that's built over time in relationship and conversation, right? And not just one area, but multiple areas. And so, but I think what you're getting at is maybe it's what how could we help one another, or how could you help me and my people, or how can I help you and your people? Would that be a fruitful question to answer?
Yes,
Okay.
definitely.
I think, just based on our conversation and knowing a bit more now about what it is that you're lit up about and what's core to you, I would say two things, and you have a community, a builder community for, right? Um, I work with builders and founders and others all the time as a coach, and I'm a different kind of a coach. I'm holistic, and so whether you need strategic advice, I'm there for you. You need someone to help you with what's going on internally to understand what's going on inside of you or between you and other people. uh, I work holistically in that way. So however I can be most effective in helping you to the best of my ability, that's what I do. So I'm happy to talk to folks who are interested in that way. And then a lot of times people to build what they're dreaming up. Although I'm pleased to say that these days you don't really need any capital to do most things, but I help founders raise capital. And I work with a team that has really cracked the code of founder-friendly, founder-aligned capital raising. So those are two ways that I think we would be aligned in helping one another and helping other people.
I really appreciate the time for the chat today. Rafe, was great.
Me too, Quinn.